This lesson is about how to add fractions with unlike denominators, and key thing that you need to know first of all is how to add the fractions when they have like denominators or the bottom numbers are the same. So 1/4 plus 1/4, a common mistake that some students make is they go 1 plus 1 is 2 and 4 plus 4 is 8. But when you add two things that are the same, like two animals, like a cow plus a cow, you don't get a cow-cow. The cow doesn't actually change. You just end up with two of the same thing. And it's the same with fractions. So when you have a quarter plus a quarter, here's an apple cut into quarters. We'll pretend those quarters are equal. Here's 1/4 plus another quarter. So how many quarters do you have? And the answer is 2. You've got 2 quarters now. So the key thing, or the key step here, is that you add the top numbers together only when the bottom numbers are the same. And the bottom numbers don't change, so the 4 or the quarters still stay quarters, and 1 plus 1 is 2. And that's really the key thing. When you're adding fractions that have different denominators or unlike denominators, then you need to make the bottom numbers the same, and that's the bit that students have trouble with. So I'm going to start with a nice easy example, 1/2 plus 1/4, and I'm going to show you a couple of ways of doing this. So a half plus a quarter. So here's a block cut into two halves, and here's another one divided into quarters. So I want 1/2, so there's 1/2. And down here, the quarters, I'm going to grab this quarter from here and I'm going to put it up here. And up here, you have 1/2 plus 1/4. Now, the problem is that because they're different size blocks, you can't really give them a name like two somethings. They're just two different size blocks. And so really the only way of adding fractions together so that you get a sensible answer is to change all the blocks to the same size blocks, and then you're counting how many of them you have. And you can see also that this half is the same as 2/4. So that's really what happens here. That 1/2 is equal to 2/4 plus the other 1/4, which I could just color in here. And you can see that that's equal to 3/4. So the trick is, how do you do this without the blocks? And really all you have to do it without the blocks, the method is this. So what you're really trying to do with the 2 and the 4, you're trying to find the lowest number that 2 and 4 both go into. If you don't know how to do this, just count by 2s, 2, 4, 6, and so on. Then count by 4s, 4, 8, 12, and the lowest number in both lists will be the lowest number that both of those numbers go into, and in this case it happens to be 4. So how do you change a 2 into a 4? What you need to do is multiply it by 2, and what you do to the bottom number, you must do to the top number, and that way the value of the fraction hasn't actually changed, even though the numbers have changed. So you end up with 2 over 4 plus the 1 over 4, and you know that that's 3/4 just by adding those two top numbers together. So a slightly harder example, 1/2 plus 1/3. Now, again, counting by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, counting by 3s, 3, 6, 9, and you can see that 6 is the lowest number in both lists, so that means 6 is the lowest number that 2 and 3 go into. In other words, 6 is the lowest common denominator for those two fractions. And I prefer to keep the language pretty simple, just make the bottom numbers the same. That's the way I tend to say it, and that's what you'll hear me say. So how do you change a 2 into a 6? You would do that by multiplying by 3. Make sure you do the same to the top number, and then you end up with 3 over 6. How do you change a 3 into a 6? You times that by 2, and also times that top number there by 2, and you'll end up with 2 over 6. And then 3/6 plus 2/6 is equal to 5/6. So that's your basic method for adding fractions, simple fractions, that have unlike denominators. And that's about it for this lesson. I will see you in the next one.